This is our third one. Sure. I asked Brenda to start us off with a thought and the religious. So,
Okay, I have two really short thoughts. And they both go a little bit against what I think this group wants to perform. But this is my philosophy of budgeting. This is by Queen Elizabeth II. It is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And this one is by Benjamin Franklin. Beware of little expenses. A small leap will still sink a great ship. That's what he thinks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm not quite done yet. I learned many, many years ago in a college class, a communication college class. Everybody takes a sucker, puts it in your mouth. When it's not your turn to talk, you keep the sucker in your mouth. And until you're called on by the chairman, you don't talk. And there's a sucker for it.
oh my God, nice.
No,
There's a cherry in college.
it's a cherry green apple. Sweet and sour. Cherry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just had a plan. Hey, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you. Action item review, Cousin Chris, we just had a couple yellow sheets, which we've all got. What was the yellow one, Chris?
Just setting up the final version of the charter,
Okay.
which maybe want to change to help somebody out over here, so.
Some,
It's my-
I said it sounded like we were stupid.
Mhm. I didn't know that was stupid.
All right. Well, let's just move on to, dive into, the enterprise funds. And
I don't know, where do we want to start?
That's what they.
Perfect.
okay,
I'll probably start with these two gentlemen stuff, so they don't have to stick around all the whole time. So, you wanna pull up the solid waste? things?
I do. I just need to put it in the packet real quick.
Bill Fund 58.
Yep.
Okay. How small do you want it?
Well, bigger than that factory, that's.
Sewer?
Storm, or solid waste, sorry.
Solid waste.
Second. With us going through, I think we're all through 4 funds here, so kind of keep moving. If you guys have anything at all, please stop me. So I'll just kind of work our way through big ticket items or big increases. Give you a quick explanation for why we did it, what happened, and then we move on from there. Does that work? Okay. First one, this is increase in uniforms, mostly because work boots have just got expensive. The other big part of this one jumping as high as it did is simply because we added an employee from the normal public works into this now. So that's most of the $700, is that. Moving down through the department, another increase you can see is telephones. You will see this throughout almost every budget inside of public works. It's just that year where we're gonna replace some phones, and so you can see the increase with replacing phones. And in this budget, we're actually replacing the iPad. The iPad is used to do work orders on site when we're actually out there in the field doing garbage cans in this case, when we're replacing garbage cans or anything, that they can actually input our work order system, and right into the work order system and keep moving. So, absolutely.
Do you want us to wait or do you want me to ask you?
Go ahead.
Do you have any kind of, guarantee or an insurance on the phones, or if they get
Yes.
broken ahead of time?
Yeah, so we do have an insurance, and we actually get a really good, deal with T-Mobile. The way the T-Mobile works is we're on like kind of an independent network because of, for whatever reason, an emergency or anything like that. So, our plans are pretty cheap for, all the phones, including with the phone. Typically, it's around $30 to $35 a month. And that's including like the price of the phone. Moving down, you can kind of see that spring cleanup is in his as well. The number hasn't changed, but just to give you guys an idea of what solid waste is. What we're thinking, is all of the garbage cans, obviously, the garbage can services. And then the green waste pit is also in solid waste, so that you guys can kind of have an idea of what this department does. You can see garbage hauling. There's a 4% increase.
There is an increase, I just haven't calculated that part yet for the fund item.
Because last year you pushed it from 23 to 24, and went from 450 to 463, but then in the final one, dropped back to 450.
So it all has to do with, like,
Whatever.
we have to go back and review what last year was, and then also look through recovery costs, and I just haven't gotten it yet.
And we have finished 20.
And the 450 that you're speaking about, that's tipping fee, so that's what we pay Weaver County.
Mhm.
The next line is what we actually pay for hauling, so those two are basically passed through. The 450 is to Weaver County for getting rid of our waste. And then, the next line item, the garbage hauling, is just that, it's the public. hauling cost.
If that goes up, then the fees, the individual garbage can fees, that thing that goes through the utility bill goes up, right?
You're talking about the rate? Yeah,
Yeah.
so depending on what these, yeah.
So when you say pass through all the way to the,
Yes.
that has a garbage can. number.
Correct. And it will increase, if that's the way the contract's written, it's anywhere from 2 to 4% based on, what's that formula?
It's the CPI for trash hauling.
So that's where you can see that garbage can replacement, this is the one that we have to have a conversation about. So you can see that has increased. So we are in a place where we have to have this discussion where there's basically two options. We can keep doing garbage cans, so we own all of our garbage cans. Right? The city owns all the garbage cans. Republic comes and picks them up, they haul them off. As of right now, the way it is written, when a garbage can breaks or gets destroyed or broken or lost, it is not on the city or the citizen to pay that. We are paying that inside of this fund here. The only time we make a citizen pay for it is if we know it was something negligent, like if they were burning the fire, and they threw all the ashes in the garbage can and it melted to the ground. Fireworks. That's good. They throw fireworks in the garbage can and it melts to the ground.
Or 1,000 pounds of concrete.
Yeah. That kind of stuff, right? So that's the only time that we're actually making a citizen pay for it. But we haven't been making them pay for it if it just breaks, right? Because it's one of those hard things, it's always been this, whose fault is it, right? Because the garbage company is saying, or the citizen is saying, well, the garbage truck's the one that squeezed it and it broke, right? You can see right where it broke right there when they were dumping it. Well, so there is an argument to that, right? Like, you can understand where the citizen's coming from. But then on the other side, the garbage company says, well, the reason it broke right there and why we had to squeeze it so hard is because they overloaded it and it was way too heavy. And so it's always this, fight back and forth, and so we've always just replaced cans. But cans have got ridiculously expensive.
I was just gonna say, what is the price of an
So it's
individual can?
$134 a piece, $134 a piece. And 5 years ago, they were about, what, 65 bucks? Almost
78, something like that, yeah.
So almost doubled in price in the last 5 years. And so we've actually, we kind of ran into two options now. Along with this story. We have been working with Ogden City, we've talked to them quite a bit. They use a different company, it's called Toter, that's out of Texas. That we worked out a deal to where we can get pricing, the same Ogden City pricing as they are. These get hauled from Texas up to here. They are a lot cheaper. It goes back down to about the 70 something dollars.
76 bucks. That's even after the,
That's even the haul.
yeah.
And they just provide just cans, not the overall service. You still use the.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Or we can go to Republic. We've been having conversations with Republic and saying, hey, we want to turn over our system to you. You guys will own the cans. You guys will replace the cans when they're needed. You guys will take out new cans when they needed. But what they're gonna charge us is 80 cents a can for every can that's out there. So it works out to be about, it was like, what, 145 or $145,000 a year. But that would take us out of the business, right? I mean, so we wouldn't have to have the extra employee that Brian has, we wouldn't have to have, that, we would be out of that business. And so it's one of those things that we just have to have that discussion about. I mean, where, what's better?
How good are they at,
That's good.
how good is, I mean, what's their service? If a customer were to call, they need a replacement.
That's the big question. We know how good we
We determine.
Yeah.
We go out there.
Are they willing to match the total price in order to keep? I mean,
Are they a monopoly?
I don't
Much
know,
around here, the public?
No.
because if Ogden's using
You've got
toter, they may not
voice
want to use that.
Oh, okay.
We've got some of those things.
Well, and that's the thing, right, is that's the question we're asking is, one, do we really want to look into this? Because we're actually a year away from going out to RFP to renew the contract.
Mhm.
So do we pull the trigger this year and then it forces us into something different next year, or do we just wait?
Yeah, I mean, because if we get there
We
next
have
year
more conversation.
and that price is 250,000, then we're a little bit stuck in the fact that we don't own our cans anymore, right? So.
How, you said it's $145,000 a year if we have Republic do garbage cans?
Roughly,
How much is it if we go with Toter and do the garbage cans?
it would be an addition, so we do about 500 cans a year. That's new and replacement cans. In the last 5 years, we've only done over that one time. And that was in 2021 when the building was just booming, right? And so we were putting a lot of new cans out. So it's about $30,000.
So it's $150,000 cheaper to go through Toter than it is to go through Republic?
Yes.
But you still, but you have one employee.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of operational costs that they're not going to be. But at the same time, what Jamie's saying is that we're renewing the contract for Republic, that for Republic, but for garbage in general next year. So do we, so that's what we're.
So we
Yeah,
do the
we-
25,000 this year, or the 30,000 this year,
The
and
next
then
year figure.
make a decision based off of the contract. I mean, if we put the contract out, and it comes back at 200,000, then it's like, absolutely, it's no brainer, we keep doing what we're doing. If it comes back that it's only 100,000, then I think that's a conversation that we can.
Some other company comes in and says, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
Do we already? Oh, I'm sorry.
Does Waste Management and Republic's competitors, do they have similar programs where they own the cans?
Yes.
So if we were to, let's just say that council decided as a policy that, because we're really talking a policy decision here that has financial implications. If council decided to get out of the can business, and we make that commitment does that put us at a disadvantage then moving forward? Because now that we're out of the can business, we're stuck,
There you go.
right? Waste Management, Republic, whoever the bidder is, well, it's 145,000 this year, but now that you're out of the business, we know that it's way more expensive for you to get back into the business of cans. And so we're gonna give you a great deal. Waste Management says we're gonna give you a great deal, but in a year's time, that bid comes in and that's 190,000 for the cans.
And I will just be upfront that when we bid it out 4 years ago, right, John, I think it was $210,000 for that service. But it was just an option, like, so they put Schedule A was to pick up all of our garbage, but they said, if you want to, you can do this. And as an option, and it was like $1 a can instead of 80 cents a can, so it worked out to be like.
And we don't know how. We know our own department. And the principles that guide whether or not we charge the resident.
Yeah.
Right?
And I will.
We're not gonna know that with Republic or Waste Management or anybody else.
And I will tell you that the utility billing department is a little scared in the fact that they think that they're still gonna get calls regardless, right? Like, if their
Absolutely.
can doesn't get replaced with a time that they expected, they're gonna call the city back and they're gonna
Right.
expect the city to do right.
Yeah, I was
So,
gonna say the city's their
And so-
connection, so
so we're.
Brenda, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just wondering, you said that there's a person that if we do the garbage cans through Republic, we don't need this person working for the city anymore? Does he currently work for the city?
He does, so, but.
And so we're gonna fire him?
Yes, you're looking, I'm just kidding.
Or are we going to, I mean, is it a full-time job or does he do other things on the side? Okay, so then to me, talking about the person who does this is a no-go. Because he's gonna still be there, he's still gonna be working, we're not cutting his money out of.
We're just cutting it out of solid waste budget, but it needs to happen.
It's like somewhere else.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Just to give you guys an idea, that's kind of the one thing we're going to wrestle a lot of solid waste, so.
Do you guys have a preference? Does the department have a preference?
I will tell you, honestly, at first I was all about like getting on the business. And then we talked about it more, that I talked to Bill Billing and with Brian. I think it puts us at a scary disadvantage of what you just said. I think we're handcuffed and.
And not to bring up an infamous episode in the time that I served, but are we confident this would be, well, I appreciate your, that's what I'm looking for. Your cautiousness, because we've tackled garbage once before, thinking that we would save a lot of money, right?
Brian going to flashbacks.
Yeah,
Or
we're all
7 days
going into
flight.
flashbacks, right? Because I was one of those
Starting to
that
shake,
said,
Bill.
I think this is a great idea, and then we learned, right? And we learned quickly and we learned hard and it cost us. Sometimes I think there's a value of just keeping status quo unless it's gonna make a Herculean change.
I just have a hard time thinking that anybody can provide a service like we can, like, because we're so close, we have such a connection with the homes that we can get out there and go to the camps.
What's the percentage of replacement garbage cans?
So we have about 15,000 cans out there, and like I said, we replace about 500.
500. Wow.
But it's not all replacement, I shouldn't say. We do 500 cans here. About a quarter of those cans, so about 125 of them at least are new builds going to new homes, those kind of things. And then, the other.
Just existing homes, replacement repairs.
I'll tell you with we've lived in our home for 35 plus years. And we've only had to have ours repaired and replaced once. So you know, if they're treated decent, it shouldn't be.
We did too. Ours had a hole for it, something.
Ours had a cracked lid. Well,
I still am on my first one.
whole family.
But I have a question, where does the recycle bins fall into this? Do they, the recycle bins, the blue ones,
The blue can or
the blue can,
yeah,
yeah,
so the blue can, so that is why they were saying that they offered it cheaper than they did the first time in the first little bid. Is because the blue cans are only going out. Because they're still being picked up by the same person and they're going out only every other week. That's why they lowered it to that 80 cents instead of $1. So it is factored into there, those 15,000 cans included.
because that's just basically an extra garbage
It's
can.
basically.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I know a lot of people still figure it like the
Sean delivered his back to you guys when he found out there was no recycling.
people that are that.
I was like, what? I was like, what? So we are replacing blue ones though as well?
Yes.
You're saying 500 a year. And how much are they a piece?
That'll be about
We should
60
just
something.
leave out the blue ones until we're actually using them for recycling. That's really challenging. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if people choose to recycle, we have options, but if it's not the blue can, I wish we could just weed those out and just have a garbage can. One per house. But
The hard thing was just keeping it, or all you saying one per house.
like just the garbage can, because the blue one is,
It's just a garbage can.
yeah, it's just a garbage can.
But if you go, I guess it depends on the direction the city wants to go. If you go down to one garbage can per house, I think you're gonna have quite a few people who are gonna want to buy that second.
Yeah,
And I don't know, that seems a little unfair at this point to say, okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna take your
I
blue one
can't.
away and then we're gonna charge you $150.
I don't
if you
think
want
it can be done, it's just, that would be a nice, you know.
And when
I
we
think
got out of
that-
the recycling business, Bill remembers this, the biggest conversation we had is. We had
Very
6,000 cans, like
I remember.
where are we gonna get rid of those?
Yeah, we'll just,
No, I forgot what I was gonna say.
sorry,
A lot of people who use them.
I know they do.
Oh, the base rate covers one black can and one blue can, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, if we did away with the blue cans, again, glad that came back quickly. Starting to feel really old. We would have to,
You'd have to.
the base rate would have to be changed,
Gotcha.
which would. If you change the base rate, then you're changing the baseline revenue for the department,
Yeah,
which then changes, cascades down budget. And then you could really create a cascade of unintended headaches.
yeah,
But just so you know, Phil, that right now, there are people that live in, like 55 plus. They'll call up, hey, I don't have room for this second blue can anyway. And can you just come and pick it up? They just don't want it in the way.
They're still paying for it.
So they're still paying for it,
And we
but they know
told them
that,
to, yeah,
they,
we told
we
them.
give them, we tell them that, they know.
Okay.
And then the other option is just to have people pay for their own cans.
Yes. Something like that, but it always brings that fight back. Well, wasn't my fault, garbage truck broke it, I didn't break it. So,
And what about a share rate where you could,
it's
Share the
something like that,
cost.
too. I think Pleasant View's an example of that, I think Pleasant View charges half, right?
They used to charge half, but now,
They don't.
and I called them the other day because I was curious, hey, my can's bad, what? Full price, you pay, the residents pay for
Oh, really?
it. Yeah,
for
that cost passed
it,
on.
is the half half.
Yeah. So that's the part of the conversation. And they just put it right on the utility bill.
I don't know, I just called and asked, so I don't know how they do it, you just said that gets passed on to the resident.
or just a one-time fee, right? Or is that a,
No, it's just.
Yeah, for the can itself.
I'll keep moving, man. We got.
Yeah.
Stuff on that one. As far as the rest of his department goes, we've had a small decrease on The computer, the small equipment, I don't know what was in there last year, but we're just asking for a computer for that department this year. And then you can see, and you will see this on almost all the trucks is, some of the state rebate came back this year. So it's not that trucks got any cheaper. There's some state rebates that are involved. And so the state has actually, started some of those rebate programs back up. And so that's why it went down to 44. So the truck didn't actually get cheaper. There's just more rebates coming in from the state. And so that's why they have the cost.
It's still a net zero.
Yep. Correct.
Some of these things, and I don't think any of them around here, but some of the expense is offset by something else, so it's technically not. It's dependent, but I don't think.
So that's all well, based on the nutshell. You have anything else?
So what's the one here, the 400%, this service is not classified?
Can you scroll up, please?
Oh,
It probably, yeah, it just went from 100 to 500.
Oh,
oh, the service is not classified. There's a bunch of things under that, like some of our drug testing, those kind of things. So Brian has.
CDL.
Yeah, CDL, license.
Okay.
So.
all right. So from 24 to 25, you're only at 3.6.
Whole department.
Yeah. Inflation right now.
But the other two still could go up, the tipping fee on the garbage fund.
Yeah, there's still other adjustments to be made on everything, so everything's not set in stone.
Yeah, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, the admin fee hasn't been calculated yet.
All right.
Okay, we'll go to Trent's, so I should have went these details. So Brian is the Assistant Public Works Director. He's also over. He's all losing this. It's also. Thanks for coming today. So he's over our solid waste department, our green waste pit. He is the assistant. He helps me with most of the day-to-day stuff. And then this is Trent. Trent is over our sewer department. Both of these guys have been here for almost 20 years with the city, so they're both coming up on 20 years real quick, so.
That mean they're gonna quit?
No.
Please don't.
No.
Then it wouldn't be.
We're getting fired. Well,
Well, at least you have a heads up.
yeah, give me some time.
If not this year, next year.
No, we are so lucky to have both of you. Our supervisors for our departments are the best they are. They make life. Very easy in public work. We'll get started with sewer. Really, sewer is pretty straightforward, and it's not a bunch of increases. You can see the little boots is going up. Again, like I said, the telephone thing, that's just the $1,600 for the new phones this year in his department. You can see a $7,000 increase for SLRAT. I'll give you a quick, for the people that don't know what the SLRAT is. It's a sound wave machine that what we do is we stick it, so we will pull manholes, from manhole to manhole. And what we do is we put, sonar in one, and we put sonar, and it starts sending a signal. What it does is it sends that signal back and forth to each other in different frequencies. And it can basically tell you how long that pipe is. By sending different frequencies, it's able to pick up that, it's either 10% clogged to 90% clogged, and it gives us that data back. Then what they do is they take all that data when they go and do, so they do half the city at a time. They take all that data and they put it into a mapping program, and it puts it on the map, and it tells us with that mapping program, it color codes it for us and tells us hey, these are the ones that you need to go get cleaned, and these are the most vital, to all the way like, that, hey, this area is super clean. What that has done for us, it has been amazing. It broke or cut down on having to go out and clean, so we were really on the brink of actually having to hire a third person in the sewer. It was actually one or the other, because it was about the same cost, right? We were able to not have to hire the third person in that department because we can cut down on the cleaning that we have to do. Not to mention the amount of fuel and water that it saves us, and just life of that truck. I mean, that sewer truck, we kind of replaced on like a 12-year, 15-year span. Like, we feel like that truck will last us beyond it for sure, just because of the life of that truck that we save, by using this solar. And it's owned by the state, or the state recognizes it as a clean, because we have to clean so much pipe a year. And so, the state recognizes it as a way to clean the pipe and identify problems. And so it's been a very good thing. So that's the program through, the SL rep program that's through.
Questions. You put that liner in the water lines, do you put that liner in the sewer lines?
In the
too?
sewer line.
In the sewer line?
Yeah,
Have you noticed any difference as far as, the old pipes kind of breaking down and leaving debris? Or debris catching on them? Do you find that it's not doing that with the liner?
correct, which it cuts way down on that because there's no seams, so it's completely seamless, so, hey, we're not getting any roots to come in there and catch anything. And, or debris coming through any of these joints or cracks, so it's completely seamless, so from one manhole to the next manhole, there is no joints in it whatsoever, so. And because of that, it's a lot smoother too, right? It's a lot smoother than concrete, which is what all of these pipes that we're having are, concrete. And so it flows a lot better. And then it just doesn't let water, right? Which is the hugest part of this whole thing. And we're not adding a bunch of extra water and groundwater and those kind of things.
What's the lifespan of the lining?
100 years.
Wow, that's great.
How much of the city is lined?
25-35%.
Oh, still part of the long ways. to
But,
go there.
well, we have a lot of PVC in the ground too, so PVC actually has like seal joints where the concrete. When you put them in, they were put in together, but it's just different, right?
But when did PVC become the standard? 2000?
A little later than that, right? We put concrete,
Here when it became, so.
so it's been put in since you've been here, PVC?
Sure, actually.
Yeah.
They started using PVC.
So yeah, you're probably right around the 2000 range where they converted from concrete to PVC.
So in theory, and we've grown a lot, that might be about half the units in the city.
Yeah.
So you're not lining the PVC, we're just lining the concrete.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. That's good.
So we're probably over half of the concrete. Well, we're definitely probably over half.
Close to that.
Thank you.
And you guys figure out where you're gonna do based on the SL rat?
Yep, so we use them, and then Trent TV, and so they know actually.
Has the sonar been used on all of the city? Or like
Yes.
all of the concrete, I
Yes,
should say?
we've done it 3 years now, so we're gonna get ready to hopefully redo it again this year.
That's interesting, okay.
And it only TV or only radios are main lines. It
Yeah,
doesn't
not-
radio any of the
No
laterals.
laterals or just- Moving on.
I haven't heard about Central Weaver Sewer. So I plugged in 5%.
think it's 10.
Is it 10?
I think so.
Well, there you go. So that would be 170. Where's that one? What line?
I can double check on that.
270.
Jamie, let me double check on that because they're increasing property taxes fairly dramatically too. They just increased their impact fee from 2,600 to 3,900.
It's the biggest number on it.
So it'll take it to just over 400 for this year.
We'll check on that.
Yeah.
Right?
The next one beyond that is just sewer line maintenance. There's a couple things we can do. Obviously, we can, treat all of our, manholes. There's actually a spray that can go in there. One of the other concretes that doesn't get, wasn't getting taken care of with the liner is the manholes itself, right? Like, so they started corroding and those kind of things, and there are so many gases in their sewer lines that it just keeps that concrete out. And so what we do is they have a company that comes actually sprays liners on that inside of that. Do you have one?
I like the rhino liner in the
Yeah,
back of the.
pretty much, yeah, and it just lines with manholes so that it can't attack the gas, and gas can't attack the concrete and fall apart.
Are we doing that?
Yeah, so we've started that, and that's what this, sure, if you wanna pass it around.
This is not ours, this is one Weaver Central has done. This is basic idea. They just spread. Those gases not really going in concrete lines, they just go down and eat the manholes now. So.
We've seen a small increase on department supplies, nothing really there. The next biggest one is the purchase equipment, and that is entirely for the new dump truck. When we haul off spoils, those kind of things.
No.
Oh, I thought you were asking, sorry.
No, I'll put my hands
Oh,
up.
no, sorry.
Like an option, thank you. Mm,
So that's all the way up from the bottom up.
mhm.
Gotcha.
So that's the biggest purchase from that. It's just, and it's not replacing one, it's just we need another dump truck in our city. The last dump truck we bought was in 2007, and it was already 4 years old. I think it's a 20, or it's an 02 that, or something like that we bought, so.
So is that,
So our newest dump truck we have in our fleet is 22 diesel.
so for this dump truck, it's not necessarily it's not solid waste, it's the whole, or the sewer guys, it's spread.
Yeah, so there's, spoils and different things, and or if they have any kind of breaks or anything like that, we call off all that. And so they just leave the truck, so. And then capital projects is just continuing the lining. Last year, we cut it back to 200,000. We're just asking again to cut back up to the 400 that we did. We just found that when we don't do the amount of footages that we did previous years, we just didn't get a very good cost per foot. So, the 200,000 did not go very far this year, just because to get them out here, all of these companies are either from Colorado, Montana, Indianapolis or something like that. So, to get them out here and mobilize and do all those things, like half of our money got eaten up in mobilization fees. And so we just wanted to see if we can go back to the 400,000 and start, getting more bang for your buck.
Is there a way that you can team up with another city to get a better rate? If other cities are doing that?
We could probably, that's a good question. I mean, we can reach out and see who else is lining. The only problem is they have to line with the same company.
Yeah.
The only one I know of is Salt Lake does a bunch of lining. I haven't heard of any other cities around here.
Ogden they did it back in 2010 till like 2012, and then they stopped for a while. And now they're starting back up, but,
You could probably share on that mobilization.
Yeah.
Cost and
yeah, no, we could,
just a thought.
no, it's something that's on there. So. But that's doing for you too. Don't worry, where's the next one go?
Mark?
Oh, it's still Mark? Perfect.
So nobody asked the question, but I guess I won't. So the we'll just call it 600K increase, is that a direct pass through or is that you eat a little bit into your plus, or is it all increase your gap or your?
Well, so capital projects would be cash, right? So that would be what we have, so that's not part of operating costs. But we're still waiting on, like, what's gonna happen with central waste sewer. So
Right,
the
but like-
200,
Yeah.
yes, that one will be a pass through.
But like the dump truck, how does that get, is that shared or is that?
So we'll still have to work that out with motor pool through the allocation that way. And however much we're thinking the other funds would use it. So yeah, it would be a shared cost, but not all of it.
It's still a cost, no matter who pays for it.
Right, no, true, and I guess the thing is that, when it comes right down to where the.
It still is
Like you're
part of
talking
the 5-year plan, which will
Yeah.
still turn into a base rate adjustment.
But it's just, what that adjustment is still.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still being sorted out. So just so you guys know that really, I gave everybody until last Friday to get these sheets. And so you got them on Monday. So, yeah, so we're still, yeah.
Oh, it's still good, yeah, that's the whole.
Yeah, so I don't have more information than what is presented right here, so.
We'll get stormwater, we added the fourth to stormwater. No, was it crystal because we're seeing, is that where we added?
For,
I think so. Okay. I'll have to look at that, 'cause I don't know if we did that.
For clothing and safety boots.
Yeah, so we added a fourth employee of stormwater, and I don't know why, like.
no, 'cause she's over in
she-
61.
Yeah, so, because we only have 3 in stormwater, so I'll find out what that reason is. So that's why that. It was actually a whole person, the safety equipment. Going down. There isn't very many increases whatsoever in.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys, appreciate you. In all seriousness, like, I think the biggest one is. Or the only one, like, major increase or change is just once you get to purchase equipment. And you can see. That, there's two items in there that has made that. Department increase, and it's just the Ventrax is a type of tractor. That has multiple pieces of equipment that we can use, so it can do side hill mowers, which is good for our basins. But it also has attachments for a snow blower that's like a narrower snow blower that we can actually do the sidewalks around all of our basins. So it's one of those things, we're asking all of our residents, hey, we finally got the sidewalks, so it's one of those things that we wanted to invest in a piece of equipment that we can use basically all year long. They have actually spraying attachments on these things, and when we can spray weeds. That's the stormwater department takes care of all of our basins, all of the sidewalks around our basins and all of that. And then they actually are the ones that take care of 2700 north for us, along the retaining wall and all of that, getting all that cleaned out. And so we just feel like this Ventrax system would be a great addition to that department. And then the other big one is that trash one. So the trash pump is used in one basin, and what it is for anybody that's ever been over to the pit, over by the equestrian park, there's a pond down there. that pond, the only way that you can get water out of that pond is pumping it out with a 6-inch pump. We pump it up to where about the road level is, and it pumps it into a storm drain line at that point. That storm drain line actually goes down and makes it into the North Arkansas Valley and pumps it out. Without that, we can't pump that water out. It would just eventually overflow in that basin there. And so that pump that we have there is, I think we found out we purchased it in 1992. We just can no longer find parts for
Oh, that is in World War II.
That sounds the same, doesn't it?
So.
1992, you dug it out of Nedler's yard.
Yes, so that's what that is we just can no longer find parts for it. We replace parts on it forever and ever, and it's just a basic trash pump. But
And David, is it mobile?
yes.
And so
we
it,
could use it.
it's also can be used for emergency stormwater moving.
Yeah, so we actually, yeah, and you're 100% right. We don't leave it down there. We actually go down and pump out that pond and then and take it back to the shop. But John's 100% right in the fact that we can use it in other storm drain applications for sure. And then you can see our capital projects have actually went down, but a few of the things that we're using that for is lining as well. So we haven't always done it in storm drain. We did it last year, was the first year. I don't feel like it was super successful in some applications just because there are so many roots and, you know, the stormwater carries a lot of branches and those kind of things that need stuff growing. And so we found it pretty successful in a couple applications. And so we just wanted to do another lining project with that.
So if you were to put new lines in, would you put the liner in it?
No, because we probably go to a PVC, but to
Okay,
go to
so-
new lines, it's so expensive.
I know, yeah, I'm just
Especially
saying.
in sewer, just because now you're digging up the road, you're replacing asphalt, you're going down.
So there's not a liner for PVC, it's just.
You could line PVC. They said that we wouldn't lose very much capacity in PVC if we lined PVC. But the way that it is sealed is just a lot different than the concrete, so we don't have to worry about filtration and those kind of things with PVC. So if you want, like, if you needed to line a PVC, you could, but in most applications, you don't have to just because of the joints being sealed. Any questions on stormwater? I think straightforward. The last is the water department. Just going through there really quick.
I have actually one thought on the stormwater, just really quick. I was wondering, isn't the pond falling under stormwater? Is that project, or that's capital projects is where that would be?
Correct.
You know, that's just.
Stormwater project.
It's a
It's
stormwater
stormwater,
project.
but it's impact fees. And
Okay,
then the rest of it's grant money.
okay.
In fact, we were just talking about that maybe instead of calling these capital projects, we should call them capital expenditures or something to differentiate a little bit between that.
Probably capital projects.
Yeah, because we treat them differently when they're those big new things as opposed to this, although financially we don't treat them differently because it has a life of over so many years and it's over a certain amount that it's all capitalized the same. So.
That was just in my brain. I was like, oh wait, that's stormwater. Is that gonna fall? Anyway, thanks.
It will fall under their department. Well, they have parts of it kind of.
Maintain it and that, but it'll, yeah. Okay.
And this one you can kind of, I mean, there's not much huge increases. Travel and training went up just a little bit. That's just, we have 4 new guys that are alternate certified. We were really lucky that, I mean, very lucky in the sense that we keep a lot of guys internally. So we've had 3 guys in the last, 5 years become supervisors. They were all coming out of water. So Owen went to streets, Dylan went to inspections. So it's just, and Jay Gill is now our park supervisor. So it's really cool because we still have those guys around us and we're still, you know, they're available to our water department if we need them, you know, pinch, but, with that being said, we have 4 young new guys that need certifications and those kind of things. So that line item is high right now. It will be coming down in the next couple of years once we get these guys certified and do.
I just have a question. This probably has nothing to do with budgets, but I'm curious. When you treat the water like a drinking water, how much was that of chlorine goes into that? I just noticed since I moved here originally, I loved the water. And I can just tell a big difference. And I'm thinking it's probably because you have to probably treat it more.
Yeah, so we do gas chlorine and we actually we don't treat as much as some other
Yeah.
places because we have very, very clean water. In fact, out of our 5 main sources in water, 2 of them don't even need, they're called turbidity monitors, which means that like they have to pick up the particulars in the water. There's 2 of them that are so clean that like we don't even have to monitor for those things. That we've done like the state testing and different things, and they said that water is so clean, you don't have to do those kind of things. But our springs are all treated with chlorine, our wells are treated with chlorine. But because we use gas chlorine, we use such a small dose compared to like if we did the tablets or different things, where we have to put quite a bit more in there to get it to treat the water.
I just tell a funny story. We are on a well, we are on the same well as the stone.
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old granddaughter. They lived in Plain City, so you know, they all had treatment. She does not like our water in the house. And she's not.
That's the best water.
She's crazy.
You know, that's one I
We not
remember.
like the taste of our water.
I think one of the other things that you may have been experiencing is over the drought. The springs up high where the really sweet water comes from have not been producing like they did.
Oh.
And so the city had to pump more from the wells down here. And if you take a glass of fresh water from the well and take a glass of fresh water out of Rice Creek and drink the 2, you will notice a tremendous difference in taste. And because we've had to pump well water up and then it drains, then gravity feeds it through the system. Yeah, I mean, our first home here, we were just right over there by Rice Creek and the water there was, and where we are now, Rice Creek. But as we had to rely on well water more, the taste changes, the temperature changes, the taste
Maybe that's what
changes.
it is then.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then as Rice Creek comes back up and the springs up top, you'll notice a change in the temperature and the taste of the water. It's quite different from down in the wells and it's coming out of those springs.
Again, open, you can see here an increase. This engineering services, this is a different approach at things. It's not a big difference in price besides. It's just being put in different categories right now. So anytime we need to use an engineer that's outside of Eric, it typically gets capitalized with the project, right? So we use engineering services for all kinds of different things. With this, so we went to a in-house engineer, how many years ago, Joan? 6, 10?
Yeah.
Around that,
Yeah.
6 or 7 years ago. It is the best. It's awesome. We have a engineer right there in the office, right next to me at all times. It's amazing. The only drop off we feel like we have even just a little bit is probably the specifications of like certain engineers, right? Like when we use Jones and Associates, like there was a guy that all he did was water engineering. And there was a guy that did only sewer, and this guy did only stormwater, right? And so there was things that we didn't have to worry about or do anything like, because like that water engineer, like, hey, if there's a new rule from the state, like this is, yeah, he was just passing it on and we did these things. And so, well, we have Eric pulling in about 10,000 different directions. And so we wanted to say, hey, just for water, can we have one engineering firm like kind of be like our kind of go-to? So Eric will still be working with our water department very closely. He'll just be working with this consultant that we will have like basically as a one time, like, we won't, because right now what we do is we take a project, say it's a water line project, we put it out to the engineering firms first before we even put it out to bid. And we say, who wants to design this for us? And we have an engineering pool of 5 engineers.
In the city.
They're not, they work for the city, so we did a RFP back 3 years ago, and we said, hey, we want you to be our engineers, we need you, right? And so 5 of them all put in, we actually passed them all off as like, yeah, these guys are all credible, they're very good. And so what we do is, anytime we take a project, we say, you know, for instance, the Fruit Loom Drive project, the last year when we did that. You know, we put it out to the firms and say, who wants to design this water line project for us? And so then whoever gives us the best price out of all those guys, they're the ones that design, they're the ones that put it out for bid, and then they give us a contractor, right? But so we're constantly working with different engineers in water. And so what we want to do is just kind of isolate that to, okay, let's focus with one so that they can catch all those little things like new rule changes and there's just so many things coming down from the state that have changed in the last few years, like that they're just like.
And those engineers that you're working with don't know those rules?
No, they do. So it's just getting, it's just, but it's always somebody different, right? And so with it being one that we can focus on the projects that they do, but also like the back end stuff with the state ruling, the sampling, stuff. And so that's just where we wanted to be a little more consistent with one.
Aren't you paying a little bit more because you've got 4 now and they're competing for that service? So you know, you're gonna probably get a good deal from them because they're trying to compete for it, whereas if you just go with one, they may not try it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, and we want to still put it out the exact same way. We want to put, but it'll be just for basically for the year. So we will put it out to the same 4 and say, hey, we want you to compete for our services for
Just for 1 year.
the year. So that we know who we're working with, if there's anything that comes down the pipe. That comes down,
Got it.
So, and the other thing is that's quick, what they were saying.
yes,
That
because
meeting, because sometimes,
You
yeah,
don't have to go every time to go search.
right,
for
and
it,
if
you know.
you have that same guy, you're not gonna go, I got all these other things, I'll get back.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you're my guy.
So, and wouldn't you, if you work with, you know, the city knows what's been done, where you have several, it might be, I'm not sure if the city's done that or not.
correct, and that was the one really, really big advantage with County Associates, is like, if we had a new development going up here, well, they were the first ones to catch, like, hey, we need to check this pressure system, because like, they knew our city so well that like, they were picking it up before we even like, anything with them, like, hey, make sure that we're looking at this, and this, and so that's just what we were looking for more, it's just that consistency of somebody that is very familiar.
I wrote down hydraulic model. That's another thing. Right?
Yes, yes, which is always very important with us being on the side of the hill, so making sure that we keep the pressure up there and not all of it down here, and so. So that's that big one, like I said, it looks like a humongous increase, but if you went to like, took all of our capital projects over this year, I don't, what would you guess that we spent?
Oh my goodness. With that water tank, oh, gosh, it was spent, like, in, like 400,000.
Yeah, so that'd be. That,
How many hours does that give us? Because like by the hour, right?
a
You
lot of it is by the hour, or we can, it depends on how we write we send it out to them. We just took this from historical stuff that we have, plus some other cities around us that have kind of the same situation that we're in, that they're about this. Building maintenance, that one's went up that quite a bit. I mean, a lot of that is just security. We have had our lock system in the city since about 2002. So And then the company that we've been working with forever and ever, closed their brick and mortar store. They only went to like a mobile, key company, and so it's been a little difficult, like when we need to get new padlocks or new keys, but the problem is with them, everything is very proprietary, like, so, like, we're gonna have to literally go and change out, like, everything, and so, it's gonna be a big undertaking. And just in water alone, like you can see that, I mean, just the key system and new padlocks and that whole thing is.
Maybe Brian can do that if you're firing.
We'll see, that'd be a lot said. So, that's where a big increase there is. So. Keep moving on, preventative maintenance, it actually went down just a hair. That's not still the same, pumpkins almost same. Apartment supplies just went up just, a small portion, and a lot of that is just to the chlorine companies, some of our chemicals and things, went up quite a bit. So you can see there's meters, the new meters and the change outs, the new meters is just that it's all basically a pass through. So this, we buy new meters, but then, impact fees pay for it pays it back for the meters. The other one is just the change outs. You know, we have to replace any pump on meters or our radios, and like that. And so. Water sampling is staying in there. We haven't had it, so every 3 years we get a big increase because of water sampling, just because there's like lead and copper that we have taken in and some other sampling, it's like every 3 years, but this is one of those off years where it's just the same as last year, so we're gonna keep that performing. This miscellaneous one where you're seeing the $20,000. Speaking of rules and different things coming down from the state has said, we are taking lead very, very serious, which they have for years now, right? We have to do lead and copper and different things, but what they're saying is like, we want you to identify every single service line in your city, which is a huge undertaking. We have over 7,000 services in our city. So we will literally have to pull, the meter boxes. We will have to find out on both our side and the resident side, what material that service line is, from galvanized to copper to poly to whatever. And we have to identify all of those and throughout our whole city, and we have to do it by December 31st. And so
When did they pass this?
they last, well, because it's November that they put it on the table
They
and
didn't give you very much time, but
the state said, we're gonna give you a year to figure it out. So, what this is asking for is some part-time help, either part-time help in, you know, some young kids coming out and working the summer, and we will give them tablets and they will be able to input right into our software, what they are and identify it that way, or some kind of incentive program we talked about. We did it when we did like the change outs. We said, hey, we're gonna give a flat rate for everyone we do, we're gonna do $40 or $4, whatever it is, right? And so it kind of gives them motivation to get it knocked out because you get paid for whatever, so.
Sorry, raise my hand again. Hiring these part-time people, are you concerned about getting them or?
Seasonals,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you're
because
always,
don't we have trouble with the parks and stuff filling seasonals
yeah, we have, I mean,
the last couple of years?
yeah, I mean, it's always tough to fill the seasonal positions.
my husband we used to do underground utility. He's retired now.
We'll give him a razor and he can go
Yeah.
cut around on
He's got his own, he can just.
There you go. So, yeah, so that's what that is there. It was just, it's something that was handed down by the state that said, hey, like, we need you to identify all these things. There's a good portion, I mean, there's over, I don't know. And this was just a number that we, like, this one was definitely thought to get adjusted. Seemed like it for sure. we didn't know how we would do it, would we pay an hourly rate for that kind of stuff?
Professional fee or
Yeah.
whatever. Somebody catches on that all the things need this.
Yeah.
Might turn into something.
So what will you do if you don't get enough seasonal workers? How will you handle that?
We'll just have to figure it out. I mean, when we did the change outs, we kind of ran into the same thing a little bit. We had a lot of our guys into the, they work their evenings. We paid them per meter, so that,
So not overtime per se, but
yeah, it was more of a per piece type of thing, so that might be something. Small equipment, pretty much the same. There's a couple of different things in there, but this time they're asking for metal detectors and a file exerciser. I don't know what the stuff was last year. But it's about that same size.
Helmet of valve exerciser is Dave and why it's important.
Valve exerciser is very.
We don't want overweight valves.
We put a machine on to the
I have
valve
Jane Fonda in my head.
Yeah.
and it slowly turns our valves. Slowly turns them all the way open, and then once it gets open, it shuts down. We reverse the thing and it slowly closes them back up. And literally, the reason we do that is because it is very important. When the valve sees in an open or closed position and we can't close them when we do a shutdown, or if we can't open them because it's a hydrant, we need to do that. But the problem is when you let somebody, just a person do them, they turn them too fast, so then they can cause a bunch of dirty water, or heaven forbid, water leaks because they're causing water handling where they're shutting it down way too fast, or they're opening it way too fast. And so, as crazy as it sounds, just a valve exerciser, it closes it at a speed that we need it to, and it opens it at a speed that we want to, so.
Now you have to explain water hammer.
I can show you that.
It's, think of it as sound waves. If it gets open too quick or shut too quick, the water will bounce and it'll sometimes cause a leak because it blows the pipe out.
It will find the weakest part of your system and it will get its way out, so. That's what it does, so when you get that water hammering back and forth, it is going to find the biggest relief, or the easiest relief, and a lot of times that's the pipe, so.
you know what I find the most interesting about this last year and again this year was all of these little things that we as residents have
No idea.
clue. No clue, you know, the exerciser, the water hammer thing. We have no clue about that, so we think, why are you spending so much
Unless you
money
work that perfection.
when you can
Yeah.
just do it this way?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I appreciate the information.
yeah, it's crazy that like, I mean, the 5,000, it's like that would, in 1 week, we're about $7,000. Pretty crazy. Purchased equipment. Oh, we just wanted to replace one of our utility trucks. I didn't even realize we had that. So. That's just one of the trucks that you'll see with all the bins on the side of it. Like it says, since 2013, those are probably some of our hardest work trucks. Like they're the ones that tow the leak trailers and the compressors and all of our different, things. And that's the truck that's out there on the leaks. And so, yeah, we're coming up on 12 years old, but it just needs to get replaced. We constantly have problems with that one alone, where he puts the emissions compliance stuff. It's because that one just, we've had so many problems with that truck, trying to do different things with the mechanics and trying to keep that truck running
And
properly.
I know you didn't put a value of what we'll get for it, but I mean, it's a diesel and it's 4-door.
Correct.
And so it's probably $20,000+ of resale value.
Yeah, I bet you were probably really close to 20, and especially, I mean, with leaving the bins and all that stuff on there, yeah, we're definitely probably around 20,000. So.
Other question?
Yeah.
You see all of this equipment that has to be repaired or replaced. Do you have a long-term goal, like this truck's gonna last us so long, so we're saving this much money for it? Do you have those kind of
Yeah.
plans?
Okay, so Tyrell, he watches them very closely, he puts them like there in a food department, he watches them like. We start having conversations and, you know, like when we're putting more work in, you know, all this labor work and not to mention equipment and back into the trucks. There it is. We start having conversations about.
Same for the big, like, snow plows, things like that, we have.
That's the appreciation money, so all of that goes back into replacing the equipment that we have.
Are you taking out enough?
Well, that's.
There,
that's-
depreciation is-
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
just,
depreciation is historical cost, so the answer is no.
Yeah,
but that, and I was gonna ask you that question, you depreciation brings one of these cents back out. So for the,
Well, no, but these trucks that we're talking about, we do turn them over every year, the ones that are on here, so.
but the depreciation cost overall,
Mhm.
that has to be.
It's adjusted every year, yeah. Based on activities.
Yeah, so how,
do you?
So it'll go up.
Are you budgeting as well?
No, mine's an age.
So depreciation actually go up significantly, well, I should say significantly, but I'm estimating. Probably around 100,000 this year, if not a little bit more because of the new water tank that we just built.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, so I didn't think about that, you buy new things.
And that water tank has been,
Oh, I'm just
that water tank.
saying, I'm gonna have a question.
It's fully depreciated for the building.
Sometimes that's what we've done.
So.
and do you know what the value of that tank was? I know it's been depreciated, but the old one, was it like
Old one.
like
gosh.
$40,000 or?
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. I looked at it, but I can't remember now because I was focused on the old shop.
And we realized that we had appreciated it all, because what we
Well, yeah.
appreciated for 50 years.
It was built in 61.
So you didn't have any net value left.
I can't remember. I'll have to look at that and come back with it. Can't remember.
On the depreciation, when you buy a new snow plow, you assign a life expectancy to that at that time. And the depreciation is calculated at the current cost over, say it's $100,000 over 10 years, so it's $10,000 a year. That amount is not updated each year to reflect a new higher future cost.
Right.
Correct. Wait, at the moment of purchase, we assign a depreciation value and it stays there until it's fully depreciated. Absolutely.
Right.
So you have, just if I could add some color, you have two problems there, right? You have the inflation in the equipment you have. Then when you're in a city of growth and you have to actually not only replace equipment, which by the way, this city is famous for running its equipment. We probably end up paying more in repairs than we could replace it.
There's sometimes.
So you have that problem because you have to replace existing equipment, but you have to buy new equipment to keep up with the growth of the city. And that's what happens if you don't plan for that. That's why all of a sudden you get 40% property tax increases in a extremely fast growing year. Because you have to keep up with it. So I think the message is yeah, you need to look ahead and plan. So you don't stick major property tax increases all at once. It's better to kind of take care of things. Because kicking them down the road, I found, costs you more than just taking care of the problem when it's in your face.
And it's why at the end of depreciation, we haven't saved enough money to buy a new piece of equipment. We assigned that depreciation when we first got it, and the cost 10 years later to replace it is higher. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
That's why we've tried to look at only spending 90% of our equipment and building a replacement fund for that, because otherwise you're 110%, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we've tried to say, okay, you know, how do we limit that other than in growth situations? So.
It's kind of all we have. I mean, there is the capital projects, right? So, 1,700 and the water line replacement on 1,700. Roughly like that down. This is two-part. It's probably some of our worst pipe in our city. And the other big thing is the density that we're getting, or the growth that we're getting on the west side of town. A lot of the water travels through that 1,700 water line. So we will get some impact fee money for that section, because we are upsizing the pipe from the 8-inch pipe that it is now to a 12-inch pipe. And we'll do it. So we will get some, and we will be able to use some of the impact fee money for that as well, but that's what that one is. The next one is EFI, so the PRV is to keep pressure on the hill. So if we didn't have PRVs, what would happen is we would pump all the water to the top and it would all come down to the bottom, because there'd be nothing holding it up on the hill. And so what we have is, we have about 75 PRVs throughout the city, and every PRV has 2 valves in it that keep pressure built up on the hill. And so what we do is we like to keep the pressure between 120 PSI in each zone. I should have brought a zone back, but what it does is our city is broken into 10 zones from the bottom to the very top. Those is 10 zones that we have there. So we can keep the pressure built up, you know, and then once it gets to the bottom of that zone, then we have the next set of PRVs that can hold the water into that zone, so forth, all the way down the hill. And so these are just replacing PRVs. So the old PRVs were valves that were in a concrete box. There was no air ventilation. They were all built into the roads, so they were very safe for our guys. They're constantly having to come find a manhole in the middle of the road. And now we do if I are built in the park strips. They have air ventilation. They have sump pumps in them. And then they have pressure relief valve, which if you start building too much in the zone, it'll actually start pumping it out onto the road, and so you don't cause it, so we don't get that water in or too much pressure. So that's what those PRV that we have. And then that last one is continuing the water line replacement from 31 to 33. We started that this year, or we'll start that this year. We haven't actually started that. So we'll start about 575, and we'll start working our way to about 700. And then this will pick that back up at 700, finish up. So that's just water. And that is water. You guys have any questions? What? No. Go ahead.
How do you keep track of all of this? How do you keep track of when each of these things need to be replaced, besides the equipment, but the water lines, and when they need to be upgraded, or how do you keep track of all
So
of
we
that?
have a software.
Oh, yeah, see, I didn't grow up with computers. So I'm thinking you've got a notebook or something. Okay, then think about this.
There
computer.
is some stuff on notebooks too. No, but yeah, so
That was kind of dumb.
we have a software. It's called iWorks. So all of our departments have iWorks in some way or form. But yes,
Yeah.
so we have so we keep all of our data in one of them. We have and then not to mention that they work with all of that same thing. So utility billing puts in, hey, work orders, you need to do these things, and then work out of that same thing. But we have modules that tell us how old the pipes are, what condition you feel like that they're in, depending on like when we do a water leak, when we get down in the hole, like we will actually like inspect the water line and see, like, are we seeing a ton of corrosion, or is it just happen to be a water fungus in one spot? So we do some identifications that way. And then our PRVs, by state law, we have to check all of our PRVs once a month. So those are all broke up. Like I said, the 75 are broke up into weekly checks, and the guys go out and they check you know, anywhere from 10 to 15, depending on what's on there. Here, every week. So they go through them, they inspect them, make sure that the pressures are set right, that, like, we have, it's called poly tubing that, feeds the valve so that the valve doesn't open or close too fast. Like, we make sure all of that, all the tubing and everything is proper. If it needs to be changed out, we can actually isolate that PRV, close it down, and we can rebuild the PRV, do those kind of things in place. And so, and then, like I said, we do about 35 samples a month as well, water samples throughout the city. We do all of our sources, all of our well springs, all of our reservoirs, they all get sampled. And then beyond those, we have different areas in the city so that we're like covering the whole city, where we have sampling tabs where we can go and check the water quality as well. We do that every month as well. So water is, it's so it's definitely, the most.
Hey, Dave. Go ahead, Johnston.
Oh, go ahead.
I think just looking at the big picture, there's of the three funds, I think we're good in storm sewer, particularly when we sell the property down here.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we know in water, we're gonna have substantial increases because we've identified over the next 5 years things we're gonna have to replace, we're gonna have the money for. And I think it was fairly substantial increases in water that'll be passed through to the citizens. We know in solid waste, we've been kind of eating into the fund balance there for a period of time, but it scares me because Pleasant View, who was doing theirs, the entity said, we're not doing it anymore. You guys are too little. The competition in that area is becoming weaker and weaker.
Correct.
Their costs are going up dramatically. And so we know that the hauling fees are gonna, we've got a limit on it right now, but when we renegotiate that contract, it could be quite
Yes.
interesting. We know the county is increasing their tipping fees fairly substantially. So we're gonna see increases in solid waste. We know we got substantial increase in water.
Yes.
And sewer, we know we've got substantial increases coming there. Two ways. They're increasing the property tax rate for the citizens on their property tax bill. But they have the EPA is requiring them to redo that facility out there. And so for the next X period of years, they put out increases in sewer fees. So my concern is that, our residents are gonna see this coming
Why are
through.
we seeing it coming everywhere?
I know.
Not just here, I mean.
Oh, I
it's a
know.
Broken record with everybody,
Mhm.
not just the city, but everything is,
Yep.
it's hard.
Oh,
for the-
it's particularly on those who are,
Everybody.
but the alternative is what? Not provide the
That's
service.
problem. That's what we have to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah, so I just wanted the committee to know, looking at the big picture, that that's kind of, in addition to just normal operating costs within our departments, because you're right, that inflation just pushes down to everybody, right? And then wage increases are demanded.
Yeah.
They're going down, but they've gone up substantially because of inflation, right? So just wanted to put that out on the table. I think we're all right in stormwater, but the other three funds, unfortunately, there's a lot of things we don't control, but because we're not providing the service. But that's
We're actually very lucky in the water fund because we.
at ARPA.
So you guys, well, that's a huge thing too.
We have
So we're the only
Vista.
ones that actually service our own water. That we don't have to pay a Bonavista Vista or a recent or Beaver Basin. Because those two have seen significant increases. I know you're very lucky that we can serve all of our own water. And we can always fulfill that too.
So how do we get, this is budget, but how do we get this information out to the residents? That, be kind of prepared. These increases are coming. These are why these increases are coming. Because I know a lot of times people get their bill And they just get mad because it went up, and they don't have any background, they don't have any understanding. I guess I'm asking the mayor, what can be done to pass this information on to residents?
We were actually gonna have each committee member just take 1,000 homes, and just knock on them.
I got 50, I vote.
Yeah.
You know,
That's gotta be a frustration for you, right?
it is, it is quite frustrating, because usually involvement from the citizens only come when something like this happens, right?
Mm,
And then it's not to ask the why, it's,
Fight it.
yeah, it's, so I wish I had an answer to that, how we can get more citizens, involved. We've kind of hashed this over, how we communicate, you. It's amazing, but I guess the best communication we have that I found out is a lot of people read the Connection magazine. More than I thought read it. But we've tried putting stuff in bills. We're open for suggestions. I mean, we've hashed this out a lot. Miss Casey?
I think, improvement on the, website.
Which we,
That'll be coming on your next.
yeah,
We are looking at a new website,
That would be awesome.
and the,
Not terribly user friendly.
Oh,
Yeah.
This one isn't.
Well, that, and also, I mean, for years I've been signed up for the email program and have not received any emails. I know there's still a good share of older people, of which I'm really close to, that don't do the email or the computer, but I think that would probably help a good chunk of people.
it's interesting. I was talking to John earlier. This building, the public safety building is built to handle the growth of the city. It's a 50-year building, right? We know how much we paid for it, but circulating out there now is, rumors that we paid substantially more for that. I mean, my opinion is that building should have been built 5 or 6 years ago. This is my opinion. But it cost us about half back then. But you have to do what you have to do when you have to do it. Things of that nature, but I really don't have an answer, because you can only communicate with those who want to be communicated with.
Yeah.
Just a side note, I've been working with Susan too, because to rack and stack some of the who communicates where. I mean, you have Instagram, X, X and some other stuff that, because you ask your kids, or even their kids, in some instances, what do they use? Not Facebook, it's all these other things.
See, as an old person, I don't use any of those.
I know, and so it's one of those.
Maybe try to
So at the same
explain that in
time,
writing.
Right.
it's in, we've been trying to figure it out.
Let me just say this, getting aged and falling into that category. These things, as you're seeing, are complex. Try explaining that in writing.
It's hard.
Try explaining that. I wish somehow we could have some engagement, and maybe we go out into the communities, we ask maybe to have community neighborhood meetings or something, because the complexity of this is really hard to explain in writing.
I can't explain it to my.
And if you've ever read an email or you read between the lines, right? You kind of interpret based upon how your life has been, what somebody's trying to say to you or write to you. So, I think the only thing we haven't really tried is maybe Phil, we have in the city, I don't know.
We haven't, and it's.
Is having some neighborhood
Good idea.
meetings where maybe Phil cooks up hamburgers or.
A North Ogden City Budget Fair, like a sandwich fair, but a budget fair. where you go,
Don't say that,
food
but it'll
set
come.
up
But
and-
we're really open, but as you've identified already, there are so many different modes of communication. Somebody gets communicated here, others there. And I just wish somehow we could generate enough interest in the city to go out into the neighborhoods, because if you can properly communicate with a core base of people, and make sure they understand, they'll communicate a lot for you, right? With their neighbors. So that's about the only thing I think we haven't tried. I mean, and I apologize. I don't know what the answer is. Why you're not
We've
getting
sent out
emails.
mailers to every home in
Yeah,
the past, and you still have gobs of people who say, I never heard about this. Well,
Yeah, I was guilty of.
we know that a mailer was sent to your home and
Yeah, but you get so
you
much
know, it
junk
wasn't
mail.
Facebook, it
You
wasn't
get-
modern technology, it was snail mail and
Well, you
it
know,
still didn't get read.
I go to city council meetings and there's 5 of us there. So I don't know what your answer is either. I don't know if the neighborhood community thing,
That'd be a good idea.
people's gonna care any more about that than they. I mean, how many people came to your open house?
What about though, like something like, I mean, we're totally off topic, but I think this is really a good discussion to have, so we'll keep going, but. Like at Cherry Days, if each department had their own booth where they were talking about different things, that would be.
I don't go to Clear Days, so how you can.
Well, I'm not talking you here every day, sorry, I'm just, we're never gonna hit something where we're hitting everyone.
No.
I do think the website will be helpful because if someone hears something, the first thing they're gonna do, at least I think the majority, is go to the North Ogden City website. And they're gonna give it 2 or 3 minutes to search for what they want, and if they can't find it, then they're just gonna go with what they heard, and that's that.
They're gonna go to some other North Ogden apologetic,
Yeah.
this is the city, and get their information there, right?
But I know
Well,
that
we're
there's
open.
times that I go to the website and I can't, like, I really struggle,
When you search city, meeting minutes and put the meeting minutes are pictures, so you can't search.
I have,
So-
see, and I have no problem with.
Do you like
minutes.
Facebook on the website though? Cause I don't have to be a member. I can go to the website, go to
See it
Facebook
there,
and I can get the
Mhm.
most current.
Those
So-
information.
main North Ogden oriented sites don't allow political discussion.
Mm-mm.
And so you can't put, I mean,
I have to be a member and I'm not.
I'm not.
you know, one of them has 4,500 members, the other has almost 6,000 members.
I think it's
And-
information, the political debate, I think you're right, Phil, but I think they allow information.
Well, it
Or
depends. If
Phil is copying and pasting and all these things to get.
if it's if I were to, I mean, I'm a moderator on both pages.
Yeah.
If I were to go in there and say, okay, we're going to post your water rates are going up. You know, a teaser, right? Get the
Yeah.
attention. Your water rates are going up. There's a meeting on this date to find out why. That would create a political firestorm and it would not be allowed on those 2 pages.
And you do it in enough time
Now, the question is,
ahead of time before it really
right,
happens.
there's
Yeah, but the
3
problem
of
is
us
that-
that moderate the 1 page and there's 2 of us on the other. The question is, we might be able to, because on either of those pages, and this is one avenue to distribute information. On either of those pages, you can turn off commenting. Right, so we could put the teaser on there and completely shut down any commenting, and that might generate some interest. Your water rates are going up, come find out
Come to
why.
this meeting.
Well, and to go with that, the North Ogden One website should be the one putting that out.
Yeah.
And then there should be a link to the website that gives you why and how. So there it is, and then the other pages, it should just be shared from the One North Ogden page directly onto that, so we're having one pipeline of city officials.
Your water rates are going up because of the county. Here's your county commissioner.
Well, whatever, but if there's a link that people can go to that directly gives you,
Sewer
they
rates
should
are
all
going
kind
up
of read
because of
together.
sewer board.
Like an
Here's
example
sewer
that I'm,
board numbers.
or the Rainbird, the barrels.
They
Yeah,
want-
I have interest in those. I can't find anything. I have no idea what to do, where, how to get them.
Yeah,
Oh.
oh, trust me, I know.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Trust me.
So-
And I was gonna say, those of you who are interested, the site that we're probably recommending, South Ogden has the same host. So if you wanna go look at their site,
Those are smooth for me. I have no problem. I think the minutes, the meetings, all of that are, especially now that we're getting all the minutes on there, it's really user friendly for me. It's any extra, I can explain it to people, but I don't have anywhere to direct them for more information.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to,
okay,
Roller back
that's
in.
something we need to think about.
What we really need is a really big marquee along one of the roads.
I am gonna,
Big.
my
Oh, how
photos.
come?
Because I know you don't like them.
I
I
know.
know, I was
because
like, I don't either.
I couldn't pass
I
theirs.
would keep you. All right, so do we want to administration?
But I'm not close enough to be kidding.
No, I was gonna kick you.
I know, I said,
Yeah.
but I'm over here.
So the next budget that I know is being discussed at the city is administration. Is that anything that we're?
Do we want to put that on for the next meeting?
That was informative last year.
Yeah.
I mean, just, again, I think where there's so much in the
I do
background.
too, I
that
think-
We do not even.
I was trying to quickly look at how this is gonna work with the city discussions. We've got one more meeting before the work session, when we will discuss this budget that we just went, the budget we went over today, plus administration. So if we plan on doing the administration budget at the next meeting, that would put us right in line, and we can decide if we've got any recommendations based on today's discussion and next week's discussion for Chris to take to the city council, and that work session when that's being, those budgets are all being discussed. That sounds like a plan moving forward.
Well, I could change the subject, but I think what would be cool is for you guys to come in with like the liner and how much money that really saving the city. I mean, things that you guys are doing that are actually saving us money, even though we're spending it, well, you know, see the savings
Yeah.
as a result of that. Did you know?
It's hard to quantify.
I know it is, but I still think there ought to be a way to say even, I don't know. Just, I can see that we're saving without you giving me the numbers, but you're telling me what's happening.
I have an opinion. It's not going to be, it's not gonna be popular, which most of mine aren't. You know, that's great, but here again, there's 5 of us that go to city council meetings. So how is anybody else gonna find
The
out?
2 of us are sitting here.
No,
Three
but
of
that
us.
is something that I'm saying we could share then if you decide to have some kind of a neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ms. Chair,
The city science fair.
the biggest effect on the budget is gonna be this year, from what I know, is what we do with employee salaries and benefits. Once again, knowing that, you know, we're disvaluing your input, the decision is obviously made at disbursement of all funds at the council level. I'd be interested to get input from what you think, what you're seeing out there, and how you feel, you know, our compensation program is with, I mean, it's all public information. But that's probably gonna be the biggest thing the council's gonna have to wrestle with this year, is what do we do there? Because that is what would have a major impact on the budget, which would have a major impact on. And I'm not sure that this group even understands what our policy, what our philosophy is. We think we have a good one, but we know we're not perfect, so I'm just wondering if that's something you could talk about in admin.
Okay, yeah, so that'll
the
be
ad-
discussed next time. Is there, maybe you could get a little packet together of information for us to preview and be prepared to come in and discuss, like
You talking
your
to me?
policy, yeah,
Are you talking
you
to
and
Ed?
John. The policy, you know, what it is, what you guys are looking at, so that
What
we
our
can get
philosophy
prepared.
is,
Yes.
how we go about looking at how
I think
we're.
we did, there was something like that last year. I'm trying to remember if it was like if we did a briefing or not.
I don't recall.
I think we jumped on and I showed you, hey, this is what the report looks like. This is where we get the information. I mean, basically, it's a 75-page document that is about this big that shows you, hey, here's what Ogden is paying, here's what Salt Lake is paying.
I think still if you could send that, and if any of us have time to, I mean,
Yeah, but
if
that's,
you don't.
I
that's
think-
typical across the board, no matter where you're going, somebody's gonna go out and do those comparisons. And your HR department's doing that, right?
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
like to
that's
just
what-
have you understand the philosophy.
Yeah.
so that we
and then
can
reference the
come prepared
document.
for it. Yeah, just so we can see, you know, and come
I would say
prepared for us.
yes. I would say yes.
A good discussion, and if you don't need it, we don't look at it. I would probably need it.
It's
It
not
would be
a
beneficial.
discussion. It wouldn't take that long. It's just.
Just
you know,
reference
For
it to
the
that page.
describing it won't take that long. It's just discussion afterwards is what,
Yes,
do we see of anything that would be enlightening? I think that's what the mayor's.
Because-
yeah,
And once again, we have the history buff here, who served on the council for a long time, but there's been I think a major shift
It's a 180-degree shift.
over. Yeah, and I just think, you know, that's something that's probably the biggest expenditure we have in the city. And it's changed for a reason, not just because somebody you know, there was very little pressure on salaries for years and years, and then what happened? Pressure on salaries just went crazy, right? And, you know, people were leaving jobs and you evaluate the cost of turnover and all those things. So the philosophy has changed fairly dramatic. I think we have a good philosophy. I think we're fair with our employees here. But that's what we're gonna be facing is what do we do going forward? Here on the budget, and I think it'd be valuable just to have a different view from, you know, so you understand what we're doing. And maybe you can see a better way we can take care of our employees.
What was it, how many years ago did you chair the, that survey? Was it 11 years ago?
Was it 2012 or 11 or?
It was
Yeah,
right before I
It
came
was-
on council.
Yeah, it was right before, I think Mayor Taylor got elected. What year was he
I think it was
elected?
Mayor, or 12 when you did that.
So it was
12 or
probably
13, yeah.
2011. And at that point in time, having, you know, 20 years of experience at that point in time, I looked at that and I thought, what in the world?
And at that point in time, our employees were, what was it, 25% of
20
range?
25th percentile.
And the city philosophy at the time was, we're okay with that. That we pay our employees 25% of what everybody else gets paid. And the philosophy since then has slowly evolved, and we're now at a point where we're closer to where we ought to be. We're not over range, we're close to range, so that, you know, it isn't really enticing when after you've got your 1 or 2 years here and your certificates, and some other city says, we're gonna double what we're paying you, what you're getting paid if you'll just come join us, and then we get to start over again, so.
Particularly in police and public safety
Oh.
salaries.
Train them.
Yeah,
I have another opinion. We only took about an hour to go through this today. Would admin take any longer?
Well, there's a whole bunch of ones. It's not just one thing. It's like what? Cause you're talking judicial council of one other things, right?
So there's 7 budgets in admin.
Yeah,
Okay,
And this has an effect. It trickles down, for instance.
right.
You heard him talk about the allocation of the admin out to these enterprise funds. So in addition to the things we talked about, admin costs kind of flow out and also have a,
Kind of like your overhead that gets out.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm trying to support you in the fact that this only took an hour,
Yeah.
that we should have plenty of time to talk about the philosophy.
Yeah. yeah, you should.
and we will.
Yeah, that's
should.
that falls.
But I'm
under
just throwing that out.
admin.
It's your committee. But I'm just saying, you know, that is the biggest item. I mean, what did we say, John? A 3% increase in salary and benefits equates to what? 200 and
225.
that alone is about an 8% increase in property taxes. Just that one item.
But when I go to work, I want at least a 3%.
Well-
What do you call it? Cost of living increase every year? Because that's what it's costing me. So why shouldn't our workers want
Well,
to expect the same?
I just want you to understand,
Well,
in case you have some good ideas for us.
And that's the
Not
biggest
all
portion of
residents get that.
what we consider budgetary wise as our discretionary spending. Right, the huge portion of it is really, it's non-discretionary. We gotta have a truck, you have to put fuel in it, we have to have oil, we have to have a body driving it. We have to have somebody to dig a hole, we have to have pipe, that's all pretty non-discretionary. It's salary and wages is probably the biggest chunk of discretionary spending, if you wanna call it that. Depending on whether or not you wanna keep your employees.
Well, you've seen even in these budget sheets, like, I mean, how fast we went through, like, there is no fluff thing, like, I mean, we haven't
That's-
increased any of those things.
That's what everybody doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Well, and Brenda mentioned last time, and I thought it was a good point, of ways to incentivize your employees. How do we cut costs? They're the ones doing the job. They're the ones that are out there working. They have to know that there's gotta be some things out there that maybe they can cut costs in. I know when I worked at Northrop, we had some incentives. And it wasn't considered a reward, it was just an incentive. If you could show to us that you were cutting costs, And it wasn't a big incentive, but it was great to go and have to present that and, you know, let everybody know. And we had some pretty significant savings because there were some employees that really wanted to show us how to cut costs.
Brenda told me she would really like to be the face and the voice of a video that is done. We've got some videographers that would donate their time, and she will explain all of this
Yeah.
that we can put out there on this.
Do you know, I have an opinion, and you might not, nobody's gonna like it.
It's, I said the same thing last year with this committee. If people care, spend some time on YouTube. Every bit of this is on YouTube. If they care, if they don't want to come to city council meetings on Tuesdays, it's on YouTube for years. If they want to know, they have a place to find out.
Yeah, that would be
It's all
great
there.
for a new
Somebody will.
politically oriented Facebook page, North Office. I have an opinion and you're not gonna like it.
Okay, so next week we'll talk about admin budgets and specifically, or 2 weeks, sorry, next meeting.
What is that?
It is.
Oh, we care. I better offer my opinion now.
Double check here.
It is spring break. It is for me. It's not time to get the calendar anymore.
Yeah.
It does.
It is April 3rd, yes. And so there's. I don't think there's anything being discussed at the next city council meeting budget wise, is there? At the next city council meeting,
On the work session,
the work session isn't until 3. No, then the work session isn't for till April 9th. I'm talking about the next meeting,
April 2nd is the work
Oh.
session.
April 2nd, I meant. That's what I meant, sorry. I
Is there
meant
budget
to
stuff
be-
on that meeting?
Yeah.
I was like,
So we are talking about enterprise funds on Tuesday, next week.
we're talking about that one on the ninth. Enterprise funds and.
Budget highlights.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about budget highlights.
Yeah, I guess it's just for basic review. Okay, so that's the next,
Just introducing, just kicking it off.
the hurrah that it's budget season. Yes. So, but, I mean, like the next in-depth discussion at city council meeting we'll have one more meeting before that happens, before the work session. So we'll work on the administration budget, we'll go over that. And we'll come prepared to have a good discussion about employee salaries. And with ideas on how we see that, and maybe some ideas. Maybe you can explain more, just, the incentive program, and we can just get some ideas that may be useful. And so we can prepare.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be helpful to have Katie come and jabber too, so teacher.
I think so. She had some good information last year. I know that was some of the stuff that a couple of people on the committee really battled. Why are we spending money on that? But it goes back to the retention, the incentive. I think.
Easier, inexpensive ways.
So John, can we
incentivize that
talk to
really don't
Katie, I
cost
guess,
us
about doing that, or who do we need?
She'll be here part of that.
She would be part of it. Okay, so it was just,
Well, I was just gonna say, as we have this discussion about the employee policy, the philosophy of the city, understand that Jamie, help me know with the percentage, but of the tax increases that we've had over the last 6-7 years. Probably, I'm guessing, because I don't have the number right off the top of my head, 85% or more has been to get salaries where they need to be. It hasn't been to build buildings, to buy trucks, to get, the tangible things. It's been to get the city in a healthy personnel environment, so that we're keeping the good employees that we have, that we're not the training ground and the revolving door. And I think that's why having this philosophy, this policy about employees is so important, because that's the biggest growth and expense that city has seen over the last, in the 10+ years I've been involved, that, I mean, probably closer to 90% plus has been in,
Every company,
Yeah.
every. It's just common, yeah.
yeah.
And when we started this program, we had about 70%, 60% of our employees that weren't at. And John will talk to you about kind of our program, but it was about 60% of our employees that weren't where we wanted them to be. Now we are probably at about 90% of the employees that we are, right? You think we're pretty
At
close to
the,
that?
yeah, we're pretty close to,
Turnover is significantly
Lower.
decreased.
and that's, so a good example is 25%, when we talked about it for mid-year, 25% of the folks were low. But so many of them were in that kind of like 0 to 75 cent range that it doesn't feel like you're as far off. And it obviously is more impactful for someone who's making $15 an hour than it is for someone who's making 40, but we are way better. When we first did it, we had about 80% of the people who were over $1 low.
Oh, what are you?
So
All right,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn. There we go. Thanks, everybody.
I really won't be here next time.
We expect you to zoom in.
Just share, just put any thoughts you have together.
Yeah.
Sharing it.
Where is your dedication?
I know, I was like, I want, can I come to Florida?
Do you know